process in many ways through guidance and technology and understanding who we are, where we came from. And so, they referred to us as guardians of the ship, not starseeds. So that was kind of a term that I did, connect with a little bit later, and came through as United Nations of Stars because I didn't know what the Galactic Federation of Light was, and they knew that I wouldn't understand that per se in that context at the time. So they're like trying to show like we're all working together, and here are the different, constellations that are all a part of this process. And so that's how it happened. That's how I started channeling. And then they eventually guided me to quit the job that I was doing so I can dedicate myself to doing the work that I'm doing now full time. And that came through a pretty wild experience, which was guiding me to one day to grab one of my journals, which I have several because I've been documenting this process since, the awakening in 2009. And I just grabbed one and I went to the park and I was just kind of followed the energy as you do, when you're tapped into the intuition and it kind of just flows. Sat by the water and I look in the water and I see this A symbol made out of these reeds in the water, and I just had this feeling to grab my journal that I had brought. I just flipped open to a random page and I'm looking at the picture that I had drawn on there. Like I sketched a picture on that particular page, and I look in the water and it's like the same scene. And I was like, holy shit. And then right there I heard, you're ready, quit your job in 6 weeks. And like, how can you, how can you say no to that, with that sort of coincidence, as some people might call it. But yeah, that's a little bit more than a coincidence there. So I had to trust, take a leap of faith, and I did, and I don't regret it at all. I had to overcome fear of financials. How would I don't even have clients at this point, like regular clients, because I'm working full time and I'm just kind of doing the other practice on the side. But I did. So I started off doing Reiki, energy work, some shamanic work, readings, and teaching intuitive development. And then they wanted me to do this accelerated fast track of deeper dive into healing. And I have to tell you, this happened twice on my journey. Now I am much more humbled. But when I first had my awakening, I was like, because of that like glimpse of the higher consciousness and this higher dimensional reality that I felt with that cosmic bliss and euphoria and connection with everybody else, like they often describe in a near-death experience. Only we get to, have our life review process while we're here without physically dying, if that's what the path we chose. And we also get to, get glimpses of that along the way. So I call it liquid light days, and I still get those now, and I know you guys do too. So when we have that, it's like a little glimpse of what we're working toward, but we're just not at a place where we're all there yet 100% of the time. But that feeling is better than any feeling, in the world, and it's our birthright, and I can't wait to experience that all of the time. And so, so that being said, there was this time where that was happening at first, and I was like, oh my gosh, I am out of lessons. Am I going to die? And really, I would die, many times, but I wasn't out of lessons. And I remember writing an update in that journal being like, oh my God, I was so naive. And so fast forward anyway to when I started studying, the energy work, and the gifts started coming through again. And same thing, I was like, oh, I'm doing Reiki and energy healing and clearing out my channel. And yeah, I'm like, good. And they're like, yeah, go to Peru and do this plant medicine, which that was a whole other magical story of how that even unfolded. But I did, and I was like, holy shit, after ceremony 1 out of 15, I was like, yeah, I still have some more work to do. And so, I dove into that. And then the other thing is, it did help me piece together more of this sort of galactic history and connection. And then, after all of wow, like after I included that in the book, and almost immediately, so much more information came through. It helped me like connect the dots even more, and have even deeper understanding. So it's like information has sped up. We're going through a rapid acceleration, and that information just is coming through quicker and quicker. And so, of course, some of that is obsolete by the time it's even put out there. But yeah, so went through that fast track, and then really I had to line up to do light code activations for as many people that I can connect to as possible, and also try to work with people to work with their own gifts and sort of try to create a ripple effect, which of course I am not the only one that is a part of that role and journey. There are legit millions of people that are all out there, doing that. But, we will always be guided to the people that we need to be guided to. And so, I did that through containers, as well as one-on-one work. And then, in addition to readings and connecting with loved ones and trying to bring healing to people through that. And so, I do kind of many things in that landscape, but ultimately I work with frequency and adjusting frequencies. And then that activates a process for the other person, and then they do the work. So I'm not healing anyone per se. We all are capable of healing ourselves. It's you guys are the one doing the work. It's just tweaking the frequency a little bit. And so yeah, so where do I want to go with that? So did the plant medicine, did the containers, and yeah, and then I had this epic psilocybin journey, which and I should share too. Well, I don't have to go into all of that, but with the interdimensionals, the other thing that was coming through at the time were messages about like light containers being our bodies, and how there were all of these beings working to help us, which I mentioned that, but there's also like this other piece of it which is really interesting, and it just talking about like these experiments that took place and these different theories of physics, like neutrinos and past particle principles, and all of these other things that like we can put together to better understand technology and ancient history. A lot of that is in there as well, documented. And what I've observed is that these pieces are out there, but it's like we all have a little nugget of it. And if we do actually bring this information together, set our egos aside, since we do have different perceptions of reality, we can probably figure this all out together. But yeah, okay, so then fast forwarding, did an epic psilocybin journey that kind of pieced even more together through previous journeys and meditations, activations. And I want to say too, like, I know other star seeds recognize this, and I say star seeds not to try to like stand out or say they're more special, because that's not the case. We are all, we all have gifts to bring to the table. Everyone is capable of channeling. But, there is a certain energy and trajectory of the path that starseeds do tend to go to. And they don't have to necessarily do deep meditations like everybody else. They're able to kind of tap in very quickly, have a wide range of abilities, and some of the experiences that do happen through plant medicine can happen spontaneously throughout. So when that energy wants to come through, you might be laying in bed and all of a sudden you're on this like journey, either going to the cosmos or understanding some kind of concept, from a multidimensional perspective that you're being shown through this energetic wave versus like the scientific aspect of it, which a lot of the stuff, there is science that's available out there. We like to say it's catching up to to spirit, but you can look at it however you want. There is science out there, and as we evolve, that will become more and more apparent. And so with this epic psilocybin journey, I was taken to Sumeria with Lyran consciousness, and they went through, this history of how we did have the divine feminine or sacred mother arc, however you want to call it, that was harmoniously balanced, and that's been off balance for many, many, many years, and that's something we're working on restoring our balance to that, restoring our balance to nature, trying to heal ourselves so we can internally feel at peace, so externally the world will be at peace. And so Lyran consciousness, and going back to Sumeria, going back to the Sacred Mother arc, and knowing that like how powerful we are. We don't actually have to like tell people this is how you do it. You just focus on your own path, and by focus on shifting and just really being in light and joy, that is how you actually make the most profound impacts in the world. And so as you shift, other people shift. And so again, it doesn't have to be like, here is the way. And so that caused me to go through a deep reflection of, how do I want to show up for the world, and how can I do that in the most helpful and humbling way. And so I've been on that journey and exploring that part of myself, and kind of detaching and